Welcome to the Dad Level Podcast, episode 28. This week, we're going to be talking about fighting game memories, part 2, and us going to tournaments and Evo and things. So, all right. So this week, I have one of my childhood friends, Gabriel, with us. Big Tekken player. We played a lot of games back in the day. We got into a lot of shenanigans as, 13-year-old, 12, 13-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, met Vince, like I said, I think somewhere in kindergarten up till like about 6th grade or so, moved away, but kind of kept in touch here and there. But I do remember always playing fighting games, and we would go to your house a lot, and a bunch of us would just play fighting games, and we'd always try to do the King's Rolling Death Cradle. But yeah. I mean, I think for me, the game that I first started playing fighting games was probably Street Fighter 2. Was the first fighting game I actually tried to get good at, And I mean, I've gone through a few different games. I think Killer Instinct, the original Killer Instinct, was like my favorite for the longest time, and then I finally got into Tekken, and I've just been with Tekken ever since.
Yeah, that's been a big staple is Tekken and Street Fighter, especially with Jose down here. Yeah.
I used to play, like I said, I think my first was also Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 1 was a little different. I think I played that as well, but it was a different from Street. It was just only Ken and Ryu at the time, I believe. But Street Fighter was 2, and then I played it, and then I got really competitive with it when I met Steven. And he introduced me to his brother-in-law and his sister. And his brother-in-law had the Street Fighter Alpha series, and he had Alpha 1 at the time, and they talked about 2, and I was really liking Alpha, so I got into that a lot and played with him, and that was like good memories. Killer Instincts was another one. You got to remember Killer Instinct. You got to do all that stuff. Killer Instincts was fun. I love using Jago. What was that girl with the batons? It was not Sonya. She had that green suit. I can't remember her name. Orchid. Yeah, Orchid.
It was Orchid.
Yeah. Her too. It was kind of cool playing that game. But man, it's good memories, especially doing all those combo breakers, and then you hear this ultra combo when you get this ultra going on. There was other games that I played, other fighting games, of course, like Mortal Kombat, and it was another one that I really enjoyed. It was a dinosaur fighting game. And you could do fatalities like Mortal Kombat.
Primal Rage.
Yes, Primal Rage. That was very fun. I liked it. I liked everything because dinosaurs and something new. I mean, it was great. Back in those days, playing, all these games and got competitive, and then you met other friends that you have like that interest. You created bond, you created friendship, and you created rivalry. Big rivalry. That was fun because you want a rivalry. You want to get better at your game. And every time you play somebody who's better than you, you always try to beat that person. And I think that's what's the most funnest part about fighting games.
Yeah, because I know that arcades were big for us. At least I know for me and Jose. And a lot of the crew, when I went to Southeastern High School, Tilt, Super Track, we would go anywhere we could to find whatever game we were playing. Wizard, which we talked about in a previous episode, and even like the student center at San Jack was always great to go hang out at, because back before they had the flood and they remodeled everything, they had lots of fighting games down there. I mean, it was the place to be. You could go play Capcom versus SNK 2 or 1. They had Alpha 3. I think they had a Tekken tag machine at the time, because I don't think they did get to Tekken 4 Virtual Fighter. It was a great variety of arcade machines, but it's funny when I look back at the fighting games, I can always tell you like who was my competition, or like my friends that I'd have this like rivalry with when we were playing it. So for SNK versus Capcom 2, it was me and James. If it was Tekken, it's me and Gabriel. If it was Street Fighter Alpha 3, it was me and you, or a couple other friends. As these games progressed, as we played them, for Mortal Kombat, it was hard for me to have competition, because like when Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 came out, I was really good, especially with like Scorpion, Classic Sub-Zero, and people hated playing me because I was so good back in the day. Now I probably could get a combo off, but it's like it's been so long since I played it. I can't brag about what I could do now.
Yeah, that's true. Same way. Yeah.
But I mean, even the obscure games, you know, Tubble number one. What else?
Yeah, Double
Air Guys, Clay Fighters.
Play Fighters.
And then I know Andrew was talking about in the Discord about balls.
Yeah.
You just play a bunch of 3D balls that are shaped in the form of figures and stuff, and you're fighting.
Yeah.
It's so weird. But
It
then you had
was.
like Rise of the Robots.
Yeah.
What else? There was so many.
Smash Brothers, man.
Smash
First
Brothers.
Smash Brothers. That was fun too.
And then like Soul Calibur. I mean, all that stuff, like all like SNK games. I mean, you could list like tons
King
of
of
them.
Fighters, yeah. Oh yeah. Guilty Gear, the first Guilty Gear was fun too as well. That was really, I was like, man, these are nostalgic games that we all had fun with them. All tried and played them and see who was like the best out of it. Out of all the people that I know, Steven was like the Top Gun best player that I have ever competed with. And I felt like second to him or third because there was someone else better than me, you know. But there was someone else. There was another guy. I think I'm not sure if it was the Edward you're talking about, but I think there was some other Edward. We call him George. Actually,
Yeah.
his other name was George. And that's maybe the same guy.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think Steven had a hard time with him, but he actually beat him. But he beat my ass. Well, I mean, I gave him a hard time too, but he beat my ass though. And one of the tournaments we had, and just those games were just like it was like, man, I want to play him again. I want to keep playing him. It's like, man, we got to do something. We got to play again and do all this stuff again because like this stuff was fun. But now today, I try to get into it, and not like my hands are not the same, of course, because of my situation. But I try. I try to get into it now. All the games or fighting games and tournaments are all done online, but it's not the same because you're fighting people around the world and there's different frames per second. There's different, ping. I want to say internet. That could be anything that, slows someone down or you're beating someone or someone's laggy. You beat someone who has bad connection. And like I said, these games were fun back then and it's cool but I think it's nothing compare playing to the person next to you, like going to an arcade or playing on the console system, but at the same place. And that's when you can really get better at it. Because those are the times that we talked some bullshit, we laughed. I mean, it was just those days that you miss the most and just bond. And then after getting tired of playing today, we just talk some shit and see you next time, kick your ass.
That's
Yeah,
practice.
Yeah.
for me, growing up, my main, I guess, sparring partner was my little brother. We would always play every fighting game together. And there'd be times where he hated me and then times where I hated him because we couldn't beat each other. We would be like, don't pick that character anymore and stuff like that. But no, it's fun. Like you said, playing in person is always best because not only does it bring out the worst, which is funny in people, but then also brings out the best as in you want to help them by showing them what they're doing wrong, what they could do better, what they missed, how to punish or anything like that. So I think playing in person is definitely the way to go. And unfortunately, everything now is going online, especially with the pandemic. But I think once everything starts calming down, going to local tournaments, stuff like that, would be beneficial to improve our game,
Yeah, because I mean that's the biggest thing right now is that I know for me, I don't necessarily like to play ranked. It's not because I'm looking to be better, but it's like I'd rather have the person in front of me to play. Because back then when we go to Super Track and we're playing Tekken tag and doing the rotations like we used to do, I mean, and it's funny because I had different groups of people that I'd play different games with. So when it was Tekken, it was usually like my buddy Jonathan Cutshall, Jeremy Moore, David Vo, Gus, and Josh Martinez. And then like I think there was like one other guy that was on rotation with us. And we would just like practice at school, go to the arcades, and play and fight against the people that were the best. Sometimes we'd like make our rounds over to the Galleria and play in the tilt over there. And back then, when you got a game, if you got it on the console, you had to play through every character. So you learned through the process of how each of these characters related and how you can learn to counter what their moves were based off the character you wanted to choose to fight with. Unlock new characters. Now it's like, okay, you can pay to have all these characters, or you can, I don't know, actually most of the time it's just, hey, here's a DLC character, just pay for it. So just give me the option to download it. But I'm not complaining. It's a different market now. It's not the same as what it was. I had, my friends that would come over. When I got the PS2 back in the day and Tekken Tag and stuff, we all crammed into my bedroom at the apartment on Edgebrook. And we would sit there and like just play Tekken, and then we'd go over to Steven's house or your house and we'd play Street Fighter Alpha 3 or Third Strike on the Dreamcast. That's how I got that competitive spirit, and also like being able to learn from all these people. And that's another thing too, is like when you're playing online, you're missing out on that thing because you could build that bond with that person you're playing with and make a friend. That was one thing that was great about fighting games and any games in general. When you can do something together with that person, you're more likely to build a bond versus they're just some faceless opponent online with a name. That's the one thing, is like we become disconnected from each other with some of these games now. It takes the fun out.
Yeah. It's true. It's like, it's not the same anymore. Like when you're like with someone person and you're struggling to beat this person. We're just both laughing at each other as we're, I got this person, I got you. It's like, man, and then you think you had them, but you don't have them, and you start laughing at you. It's like, nah, you just got lucky because we're just, messing around, but also we're just having fun. Is how it was. But now these games today online, it's not the same. That you compete with others, you're going for the thing to be top best, but are you really having fun? Do you have fun? Some people don't even have fun when they're playing these games. Like they're raced to get ranked 1, to be number 1. But are you having fun? They're not having fun. Sometimes they say, "Oh, I'm just doing it just for the clout, to be the number 1." But it's not fun anymore when you're doing that. You're making it into like your job is to be hitting number 1, and that's it. You don't want no one better than you. Then again, there's going to be someone better than you, and when they beat you, then what?
Yeah, you're going to be able to take that loss in strides and become better, or you're going to be like completely devastated and you give up the game for life.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same. Like I said, these online games are fun. And don't get me wrong, they're fun, but they're for like temporary. They're not the old days that you make friends. You create bonds and then you play with other gamers like yourself who have these same visuals and become friends. And then after that, you start doing some shit. Like my brother, I like it when I see him. Sometimes he's streaming or he's playing Street Fighter or another fighting game. He's talking to another friend and they're just both laughing at each other. And it's like, oh, I can't believe you beat me. And you're hearing him losing it. Like, he's telling his friends like, man, I'm going to get you. We're going to go again. We're going to go again. He's like, oh, he's into it. And that's like, okay, that I could say that's like really having fun with a friend, because he's actually talking to the person the other time. He's not really visible and in front of him, but he's, by internet, he's actually talking to them on Discord. And they're both having fun, and I hear them. I was like, oh man, that's good. That's back in the day. I used to do that a lot, but lately it's like, man, I used to get into the stories, especially with fighting games. That's another thing. Every fighting game had a story, had a lore. You used to do these fighting games, and they had like, okay, I beat the whole thing with Ryu. I beat this whole thing with Liu Kang, and I see the whole story about these characters. And it was interesting. Every time you beat the fighting games, you unlock maybe another character, right? Now it's different. They don't do that no more. And the stories are so cheap. They're not like good like they used to do it, man. I was like, what's going on here? There used to be a good story here and good animation somehow, but now they just put a picture and then they put another picture where the head moves like this and that's it. They push the voice acting in there, but it's not the same. Mortal Kombat probably is a little different. Now it's like maybe more animation. I think I haven't played the new one, but they've been telling me that 11 is pretty fun. So I was like, oh, maybe I should try to get into Mortal Kombat if they have like good story and stuff. But any other fighting games now, it's like, these other like Street Fighter. It's like kind of just, lost my interest after a while. I think it's because also for the MMORPG took me away from that. But it's just It's also the story part. You want to get into the characters. You want to know more about this character. And then how you get involved with it, and then you talk to your friends about it. What do you think about this? Like, yeah, I think they're gonna do this. They're gonna. Oh, you definitely gonna make part 3 about this game. You know that. Oh yeah, you're right. That's gonna be fun if they add this character in there later on, and they do. And that's cool when they do that kind of stuff. When they add the full, they add another part 3, and as we're expecting that we're gonna come up with another story of this, and it was fun back then. Like the Street Fighter Alpha series, I think that was great. But now it's a little different. I can't do much about it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like the whole adding characters. I like how Tekken, or a lot of games are doing it now, where they're doing cross, like Akuma is in Tekken, stuff like that. And I think that's pretty cool. And actually integrated him into the Tekken storyline, so he's part of the Tekken lore now. And I mean, who knows if he'll be in Tekken 8, but he's part of the story now. So I think I like how they're doing that. And I don't know, it's just interesting how it's just going 2D fighter to 3D fighter. It's just
that is interesting. I did not know that they did something like that.
Yeah, because they actually added Akuma and Geese from
from
King of Fighters.
King of Fighters and Fatal Fury. Yeah.
Wow. And Tekken. Yes. So like they got like some kind of collaboration. I know they've done collaborations before, but now they're actually doing it as a part of the story.
Yeah. Tekken, this whole Tekken 7 was all about, well, not all about, but they did have a lot of guest characters like Akuma, Geese, was it Negan from Walking Dead is in there?
Noctis from
Noctis. Yeah, he's in there.
Final Fantasy? What?
Yeah. And it's pretty cool because a lot of those characters in the 2D fighters have projectiles. And in Tekken, nobody has projectiles up until now. And so it's pretty cool. They had the whole side, Tekken's always had sidestepping. So you can just sidestep the fireball. You don't have to jump over it or nothing like that. So it's just another cool element added to make it more, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I think it's a real missed opportunity that this last DLC that they didn't include like some other character from another franchise. I did like the 3 people they added, but I would have loved to have seen Sub-Zero or something, or Scorpion, or Shao Kahn. Actually, if you're going to do like a villain character, Shao Kahn would be a great addition. If you want to go back to tap into that SNK, you could have done like Regal from King of Fighters. That would have been really cool. Especially like his Shin form from SNK versus Capcom 2.
Oh, that
would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing. Yeah. That is cool. That's really neat.
Yeah. But I mean, like even with Street Fighter 5, I enjoy 5. It felt more polished than 4 to me personally. It was hard for me to transition to 4 because I was still in the mindset of Third Strike. 2D. It just didn't feel like it transitioned well to the 3D side of things. Model. And then 5 seems like they polished it out where it still felt really 2D with the 3D elements. I just wish that like we got a complete package with 5. I think 5 would have hit off more if everything was there versus like, oh, well, we're going to add in a storyline or the story mode later. And then we're going to do like this whole thing of we don't really have endings for the characters. They're just like kind of like little short comics. And you play this like 3 to 4 matches, and you're completely done with the story mode. You have a little intro and little bit pieces here and there, and then like this little bit small ending. And that game has really become its own now with all the new additions they've added. It's like hard for me to go back to it right now because my friends that were playing with it, we're not playing it right now. We're playing other stuff. And that's why I'm hopefully with us more streaming, we can actually go back to it and be able to play it, because I want to go back and see all the things that are going on with the game. And that's the one thing too, is like back in the day, we had games that were complete. We didn't have to worry about day one patches and downloads and stuff. We could just start playing the game. So, but let's transition this over to some of our first tournaments. How many have you gone to? Have you won any? What your memories are and stuff like that.
I think I want to say I did enter one of the tournaments at the time. can't remember what Street Fighter Alpha 2 or 3. I can't remember if it was one of those, either of those two. But I remember that we entered. I know I think I think me or Steven won that match. And we won it was like a cash prize. I think Steven won it or something.
Hmm.
I could not remember how much was that. And it's like it's been so long, but I know we entered it and we won something. And I was like, okay, we won something, we got this. There was another also a tournament that they gave away video game. I think it was the one of the Street Fighter Alpha games they gave out, and I think that was the one in Game Crazy at that. I think I want to say I think I won that one. Steven won the one in Wizard, and I think he won the cash one. And the one I won, it was a Alpha game and from Game Crazy at the time. We were playing the tournament in there too, and that was pretty cool because I was like, man, this is awesome that they create these tournaments, and I wanted to create one myself, and that's when I started with the giving y'all advice. What do you think about this? We should rent this place out, and we can actually do this thing where people pay $5 to get in, and whoever wins this prize. That will cover for whatever we're paying, and at least we have something to go off by. And yeah, I mean, yeah, Steven came out short. But the thing was, it was fun. The experience was very fun, having everybody there from the high school, everyone in there, and being competitive, not with just Street Fighter Alpha. It was also playing, I want to say it was Third Strike. It was also playing Tekken. I want to say Tekken 3 at the time or 2.
Yeah, Tekken. No, it was Tekken Tag Tournament. We played. The tournament was 4 games, and then it was whoever won of the 4 games that we did the tournaments on had a head-to-head with the final game, and then whoever won that won the actual tournament. But it was Tekken Tag, it was Soul Calibur, it was
Dead or Alive, right?
I think it was Dead or Alive, and then the last one was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I believe.
Yes, it was that.
And then I think we just did Tekken. No, we did Third Strike for the
Third
final.
Strike.
I think the final one was the final one. Because technically it was 5 games we ran, but the people who made it to the certain tiers into the thing got into the Third Strike tournament.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
But that's a whole thing. We'll go into that. Because Gabriel, you want to go in before I start with some of the stuff?
Yeah. For me, my first actual tournaments were, all my tournaments have been for Tekken, but first one that I remember going to was Space City Beatdown was one of them, and that's a pretty major one for Houston. They do a lot of games there. Did that one a few times, and then my buddy actually he goes out to Evo every time he's able to, and he always invites me, and so I've gone down to Evo with him for 2017, 18, and 19, and of course, after that it hadn't happened. But those are always fun. Evo is definitely an experience. I know Tekken at least had about almost 2,000 participants, and it's pretty insane. And it's great environment, and everybody's super helpful. Like in the Tekken scene, at least, I know like the Smash scene can get kind of feisty, but the Evils are definitely the biggest tournaments I've been to. But here lately, I've been going to a lot of local. There's this one. I don't know if y'all have heard of it. It's Mini Boss Gaming. They're local, at least over here in the Webster Clear Lake area. But they usually hold. I don't know if it's weekly. I think that they try to have something every week at this brewery down here, and they'll have like Tekken once a month. And I usually try to go to that. And they're usually, I guess half the time they're free to enter, and the other half, of course, it's like a small, like $5 to play and $5 for a venue fee, but that goes to a pool, and then there's a cash prize at the end. And I think that closest I've gotten is second place at one of those tournaments, which is not too bad. But yeah, that's definitely fun because the people that go there, they actually hold little, and like at their house, they'll invite people to come just play casuals, and they try to do that every other week, and I'll go to that every once in a while, and it's pretty fun. They're pretty helpful. They're all about helping out and teaching new things, and it's fun. But yeah, definitely. I think there's actually a tournament this Thursday, so I'm gonna try to go to that. But
Yeah, there's been a lot of tournaments I've done, and then not just like for fighting games. There was other stuff because even like, well, I don't think it was the first tournament I ever played in and won, but it was the Ready to Rumble for before I worked at Game Crazy for the Dreamcast. That was fun. Game Crazy, they would do this whole thing where they would do tournaments, and then first prize would get enough to buy a brand new game, and then second place was like $25, and then third place was like I think $15 or something. And so I ended up getting the Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, and I wish I still had that game. The game is ridiculously expensive now. At least at a price range I don't want to spend right now. There's other games I'd like to get, or other things I need to take care of first. And then what was it? We had, I don't remember which wrestling game it was we did, but I remember it was funny because my dad entered that tournament and stuff. He did, all intents and purposes, he won. But the way they had like laid out the thing, your attitude meter had to be filled for you to be declared the winner. Whoever had the most attitude bar was the winner. And it's not because they beat the other person. I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. And then there was a Soul Calibur tournament, which was fun. We actually there was a lot of guys that came in from all around town to participate in that one. Because I just remember it was like us playing, and then like people we didn't even see that came in the store at all ever. And then I know, see, fighting game wise, I've been at one Tekken. Whenever Tekken 6 came out, I think the GameStop over by me did a Tekken tournament. I won that one. And then whenever, oh come on, what was it? There was another game was like, because they usually do this whole midnight releases. You'd go hang out and stuff. Well, they would do tournaments, and they would get you prizes. Well, I did was it Marvel versus Capcom Infinite? Not Infinite, but the one before that, 3. Yeah. And I won that one, and I got something. I don't remember what it was. There was some good players there that were fighting in this game. I was like, I guess they couldn't stand to haul up against me on Street Fighter. But there's been tournaments I've lost. I mean, like, I know when me and Adrian went to PAX South the second time, there was a Street Fighter tournament that me and him were both in, and I was eliminated like the first round because I hadn't been practicing at all with Street Fighter 5, but he had been playing like his Jury or Ken, and he got all the way up to like the final match, and the guy was just a little bit better than he was, and he won. But I was like, man, I know Adrian we were like, we could have got him. He's like, I don't know, I could have done this, but I wish he was here to talk about it because it was a fun time. But there was also tournaments there too that the only other one I did was like the Pac-Man the championship edition. I got into the tournament late, and I know this isn't fighting game related, but it's just tournaments.
Yeah.
I got there, I signed up for it, and they didn't even give me a chance to like practice run because my score at the time at home when I could just play it casually was like 1.7 million or something like that. And I got thrust into the game. I was like, no practice, because they were like, we're about to really start and get this going. And yeah, the girl I played against, she just busted out 2 million easily. And I'm like, what? Yeah. It's like, man, I could have probably like had somebody else play her, and then I could have got some practice in. But no, it was still fun. As far as tournaments that I ran, it was great because like for Game Crazy side, when I actually started working there, And I actually want to talk more in depth about this whenever we get to do our Game Crazy episode. But there was like always options for us on the table. If we could think of a game, our district manager would be like, yeah, go for it. So we did a Pokemon Stadium one. So that was fun. I actually got to do all the rules for that, set it up and everything. And then whoever won that got the prize. What else? We did. There was a Tony Hawk one. There's two Tony Hawks. So it was like Tony Hawk 1. And then later on it was Tony Hawk 4 before Underground came out. And that one ticked me off because I participated in that one. I didn't get to set it up because I wasn't working at Game Crazy at the time. But I was like, we went in and they were like, okay, so we got a regular controller and a knockoff, off-brand like Mad Catz. And I was like, can I run home, please, to go get my own controller? I don't want to lose to having to use this awful Mad Cat controller. And they're like, no, you have to play. Can I buy one so we could use it in this? And they're like, no.
Oh my God.
So me and Andrew had sat there and practiced. And we were busting like high millions, and because we found out this trick that you could basically, there's a one spot on the level that you're supposed to, on the first level in 4 or 5. I can't remember. No, it's 4. Yeah. 5 has recently just came out, or not, at least within the last couple of years. But basically it's a ramp, 2 ramps in the middle with poles. So you go up, you do your pop shove it, whatever, come down and do a revert into a manual, jump on the railing, bust out whatever special is, because you probably already got one at that point, manual, up the ramp, revert, go back and forth, and you just keep doing this. You could just get this huge multiplier in the millions. It was ridiculous. And so we were confident we could do this. Of course, that Mad Cat controller was our downfall.
Oh man.
So it's like there's a difference between you can have skill, but if you don't have the right tools for the thing you're participating in, you're not going to do that well.
You're not going to do that well at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember doing that too. Man, I can't remember what game. It was other tournaments I've done, not just all the fighting games, but I remember doing the Pokemon one once, and one of you guys didn't want me to win because it was this kid who wanted him to win. I'm like thinking to myself, man, if I let him in, he's gonna win that. I'm poor, dude. I was like, screw the kid. He's going down. And yeah, everyone's face was just like, give him that disappointed face, like, you're wrong, dude. You're wrong.
Well, we tried to do it the whole thing with like having kids versus like the older kids, the adults. Yeah. So that way it wouldn't be, like James coming in with his Pokemon and stuff and battling against this 10-year-old that like loves Pokemon but only plays it casually, and he's like crying to his mom, and like they start a fight. No.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I can't do that. It's like, no, I gotta win. I gotta win. I need that. I want to win the prize. That was so much fun. But there was another one too in Game Crazy that I entered. It was a Sonic one, a Sonic adventure, and see who was the fastest. And I actually won that one too. But there are other fighting games that I think I also entered. I can't remember which ones. I think we entered one, like, let's say 3 years ago. And my brother entered it. I think he went. And he was playing Rashid and with Street Fighter 5. It's like a good 3 years ago here in Houston. And I told him, man, that was good. I'm glad you're entering, because I remember they were saying I can't remember what the prizes, but he didn't win. But he was telling me there was a lot of good people there. And he was surprised that he actually beat one of the good players in there. He actually beat him with Rashid. I was like, good. And it means you're practicing, you're getting better at your game. And he bought himself, because everyone played with the joystick. Yeah, and he bought himself a joystick. Yeah, and he's like, he got used to the joystick. I said, you know what? I probably need to get into joystick too, because I'm all into controller. I played everything with the controller. That's how I was playing. But also, going to Wizard, I played with joystick and try to get used to that. And understand it more, but I was not that great with joystick. It was always with controller. But man, it was some other tournaments I did enter. I think there was one, but that was not a fighting game. It was just some Yu-Gi-Oh tournament we got into, and that was fun too. But I was like, I do miss those games that you go into, you go and actually fight with people. There was a virtual fighter, I think competition at Wizard, and I entered that one. I did win something out of there.
Hmm.
I can't remember what I won, but I know there was a virtual fighter competition in there. I just can't remember what was the prize that I won in there, but I think I beat someone because I can't remember the guy's name in Virtual Fighter. But that was a very very fun fight there, especially playing that game as well. Sega's, I guess it was Sega's first fighting game at the time, but I just can't remember. It's something just like it's been so long that I can't remember. I can only remember like going over there and getting into the tournament and fighting, but I can't remember hardly anything on the prizes, especially the ones on Game Crazy too.
Well, I never
So,
got to go to the one that was at the Galleria, for like the
yeah,
Tekken or the Street Fighter. I heard those were pretty nice. Um, but like the first, if we're going to talk about tournaments that's not fighting game related, the first tournament I ever entered was the Blockbuster one for Tokyo Country. I was top competitor at the time up to like the last week because they had it to where you could go in every week and redo your score to see if you got better, to whoever had the most bananas or whatever at the end would win. Well, some dude came in, wiped my score out, and I was like, dang it. And then I went and tried to do it, and I couldn't beat it. So I felt defeated. But the drive was still there.
yeah, I can imagine. There's some days that I'm like, man, I just kind of wish we can go back to those days, but it's like we can, and like we can try to pick it up again and get into it. Like me, I'm like Tekken is another thing I have not played for a while. I know I played up to 3. I know up to 4. I think 4 was the last time I played, and after that, I started to see Tekken leaving its roots, and I'm like, I mean, I like the collaborations they do now. I think that's kind of cool. They're doing collabs. And I'm always thinking, why are these big companies like Capcom doing collabs now with SNK, with
Namco.
Namco? But like they need more, and it's like that's pretty dope. They're doing that kind of stuff. And then I got into one, and I really enjoy it, but I don't know nobody people who play it. It's Dragon Ball Z Fighters,
I love
and
Dragon Ball Z Fighters. It's great.
you do. It is,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
good
because I
game.
love it. It's a good game. I'm like, man, I want to get into that. The combos are really fun, getting to learn it and just getting into it, like picking the characters. Oh man, especially the Broly. Yeah, that is so cool. Just to get into that fighting game, and I played it, but I told my brother, yeah, my brother kicks my ass on that. He kicks my ass with any character in there, I guess now. But I was like, I still love it. I still play it once in a while here and there, but I'm like, you know what? I should stream it one day. Actually, try it and get into a stream and actually play that game into it and go live online or something. But it's not the same. It's like I'd rather play with somebody, and I don't know who plays it anymore.
I was gonna say that how we were talking about people playing on arcade stick, and I know that they've actually I don't know, they got a mixed box now, which is it's just buttons instead of a joystick. So you got your input buttons on your right hand, and then you got, instead of a joystick on your left hand, you have buttons that you press to control your directionals. And it's kind of weird. So it's just all buttons. And then they got another one. I think it's called that one's called Hitbox, and I think there's one called Mixbox, where it's kind of like the keyboard up, down, left, right arrows. Those are your directionals, and it's just buttons. It's kind of weird. There's all kinds of crazy controls I've been seeing now too. And but some of the top players use those kinds of controllers now, and it's just kind of crazy how the peripheral is evolving.
Mm.
And, but I mean, me too. I play on a controller. Like that's just how I've always played, and I've always wanted to get a joystick because I think it would help me improve my movement and stuff like that. But I just never had one, never got one. But I'd like to at some point get one, but I'll stick to my controller for now.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, most of us, unless you were in the arcade all the time, we usually played with the controller. It was the preferred method because it was back then. It was expensive to try to get. If I remember correctly, like the arcade stick peripheral wasn't that great back then. If you wanted to go get one that was higher end, it was really expensive. I mean, heck, they're expensive now, but they're within reason. I know it's like I can get a good one for about 150 to 200. And then, if I want to get a higher end one that I can customize, like my buddy Adrian got, he paid, 3 something for it. And that's great. You can completely customize it and all this other stuff. And, that's what you want. You want to have a higher end one that you can like say, hey, the B button's messed up or the X or whatever. I can replace it with another part instead of like, crap, I got to go buy a whole new peripheral for it. But that's like, you think about companies that make these. Hori's great for fighting sticks and fighting game controllers in general. I just picked up their Switch. I can't remember what it's called, but it's new Joy-Cons that you plug in, and it's got a D-pad, so I can actually play fighting games better on it. And it's designed for that versus like trying to use the fight pad where I feel like or not the fight pad, but the pro controller. I feel like I'm going to break my finger because of how the buttons are.
Yeah.
Because it's technically not designed for a fighting game. It's that's a 4-way, and you can kind of fake it into an 8-way, but it's not really designed for those movements.
Yeah, that's true.
At least from what I've experienced. Now, there may be people out there that have these things that are better at them, and hey, more power to you. But I'd rather have a controller that gives me that option versus not. Because I'd hate to be in a tournament that I paid like 60 or whatever, whatever the entry fee is for, and lose. Yeah, you're going for the experience, but if you're going for the real competition and everything, you want to be competitive, and you feel like you got the edge, go for it.
Yeah.
But back to like the one thing I was going to talk about too was the tournament stuff. What we would do, and I still do this now. I haven't done it in the last 2 years because of COVID and everything, but we would do fighting game tournaments here at my house. We'd all get together, we'd have some food, and we would start playing like Street Fighter. We play Tekken, and then I would give out a prize. The last one we did, I gave out crap. I don't remember what it was, but the one previously before I did that one, we did a Street Fighter one, and my buddy Ricky won that one, and I gave him the Ryu amiibo because I had come across an extra one. I was like, well, I'll hold on to this for trade or whatever. No, I can do it for a tournament for my friends. And I'd love to be able to. Adrian came up with the idea of us trying to do this, and I want to try to do a tournament where we all get together, we stream it, or even if it's just online, we get together, we stream our thing. Maybe like I can figure out a way to like do it through Zoom and then OBS or whatever, and be able to stream our matches and stuff. And then at the end of it, we'll see who the winner is, and then they can give out a prize. And it's like, yeah, it costs money, but it's like, it's whatever. It's having your friends over to have a good time is what matters, or just having a good time with your friends in general. And that's what's really been really great with like us streaming on Wednesday playing Tekken. Me, Gabriel, Adrian, Scrappy, our buddy, and playing that. And we're going to go into rotation maybe and try playing other fighting games too, because fighting games have been like a big thing of our lives. I mean, it's really the genre, other than for me, RPGs, that really like stick with me the most. Yeah, I can get in and play some Castlevania or Metal Gear Solid, which is another one of my favorites. But fighting games, I can, as long as my hands are good and I can have some time to practice, I can put up a good fight. But I love doing it. If I had a choice, have my friends over to play fighting games, I'm 100% down. 100%. There's no question.
Got to give us a chance to understand the controls if we're going to do Tekken. Give us a little practice before we enter.
Just don't feel discouraged though, because Gabriel's really good.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not great. But another good thing, like you were saying, having tournaments with fighting games at your house. It's tournament. I mean, like a fighting game is a game that is quick. 2 people fight, it's over in a few minutes. The next person comes in,
Mhm.
You know, and any other type of game, it's kind of like you gotta wait. I don't know. It depends on what kind of game you're playing, but like, say Donkey Kong Country, how long would it take you to complete that stage? You know,
Yeah.
so it's like that's the great thing about fighting games. That's instant, and then it's over in a few minutes, and the next person comes in and just keep rotating.
And
To
then
do that.
yeah, so two things. Back to the tournament side. Tournament thing, you know, when we used to do the tournament, you know, that was so cool because we created flyers, we went to all the different arcade hangout spots. We found a location to house the tournament. We all brought our own TVs, our own systems, our own games. We ran the risk of some guy coming in and robbing us, but luckily, you know, back then it wasn't that bad, you know. And we had, you know, even a couple of our friends that, you know, were heavier set dudes built like Jason and I can't remember the other person that were like kind of our doormen, you know, to make sure that like nothing sketchy went on while we were conducting the tournament. I think the biggest thing that was a detriment to the tournament in general for Steven was the fact that he decided to do food and things. Like they did like what sloppy joes, I thought hot dogs and
Hot dogs,
chili and stuff. And it's like there wasn't enough return investment for that for him. Whereas for the tournament perspective, you know, we had like I think 30 to 40 people show up for the tournament.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people in that
A lot of
tournament.
people. Yeah.
We had people standing out in rotation waiting for them to come in. And it was cool because there was that one dude that was can't remember his name, but he was really good with Third Strike and Tekken, that always played at the Galleria. And he was there. There's a lot of cool, like really good fighting game guys that were in Houston that went to this tournament we ran. And it was funny because they were like, hey, when are you guys going to do another one? And then I think we did one other one. And then there was the one that me and Alex were working on, which is going to be when Tekken 4 came out. And we just couldn't get a place to run it. Because it wasn't like it was hard getting everything going. And it was cool too. It was like, you know, if we didn't worry about the food, we actually made a bit of money. And what was it? The prize we gave out was a modded PS1, you know, so someone can, you know, play whatever imports and stuff they wanted to play. So that was really cool. It was either that or it was an imported. I can't remember.
It was imports, yeah. They were
I think it was just
able to
well,
play
no,
Japanese or imported games.
Well, I don't know if the PlayStation was modded or it was actually just it was an actual Japanese PS1.
It was actually a modded one. Yeah.
It was actually a modded one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that went to Josh Martinez. I think was the one who won everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one that won that one. He was really happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like, man, this is so awesome. And because it was like, I think it was him and Ricky were the last two. My buddy Ricky. So but yeah, no, the fighting games have been one of those things that like even before like with my dad we would go, you know, it was like if we're at a place when we first saw Virtual Fighter, it was like we were gravitated to it. When we first saw, you know, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, we gravitated to it. Of course, I've told the story about how we heard about Mortal Kombat the first time and everything, but Tekken was another one. I can like tell you, I don't remember if we first played Tekken at Super Track or it was at the Hollywood theater, Cinemark, the Hollywood Cinemark theater right over there off of Red Bluff.
I think it was on Super Track that we played it.
So it was one of the two of those. Like I remember when we first saw it, we played it, and then anytime we could find a Tekken, we would play in it. And of course, it was always Law. Anytime we could play Bruce Lee in a video game, we're totally there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can remember going over to Tilt at Alameda and playing was it Marvel? No, X-Men versus Street Fighter. the first time, and then Marvel versus Street Fighter and stuff at Super Track. Because as these games were coming in, we were like gravitating to wherever they were at.
Remember I first played X-Men versus Capcom or X-Men versus Street Fighter. I think it was called like that. I can't remember. Capcom versus X-Men. I can't remember how it was called. I think that was that Seller Brothers at Edgebrook.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we all gathered over there at Sellers, and everyone was wondering why we were over there. I was like, "Can't play the game here." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then eventually that machine ended up breaking because so many people kept going to that machine and just breaking it into pieces because everyone just wanted to play. Yeah, that was fun though. Those were like the good days.
I remember too, my mom, our washing machines had broken down, and she had to go to the laundromat. And she said, "I'll be back in a few hours. I'm going to go to the laundromat." And then I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go too." And my brother's like, "Oh, I'm going to go too." The only reason we went is because the gas station next door had time killers. And that was a fun game. I remember playing that one a lot.
Mm.
That was a different take on fighting games. Just the fact that you can cut off a limb and your person can still fight,
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Well, because like there was a right on there, which is funny because we talk about Seller Brothers, right? So before Seller Brothers was a grocery store, it was a convenience store, and there was one right there between like just before, I think it's what, Spencer or Shaver, which is the street that goes between where was Brandywood at?
Spencer.
Yeah, so Spencer. So right between there and like Red Bluff, there was a gas station right there that used to be a Seller Brothers. Well, we usually would always stop there for breakfast items when my dad was taking us to school. And they had the very first Street Fighter. And I had already played regular Street Fighter 2. I'd never seen a Street Fighter 1 machine at all. And of course it was the actual the old school one with the the two big buttons that you had depending on how you hit them was what you did. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I want to play this. Dad's like, you need to go to school. Dang it. So we came back another time and played it. But I don't know how many times we'd go to like different gas stations to find arcades, because that's what was so cool. Because like you'd walk into 7-Eleven or Stop and Go, and there would be a section where they had arcades plus extra storage stuff. And was it Strawberry and Fairmont right by the house that we used to live at over there? There was a 7-Eleven, and inside was the Alien versus Predator arcade machine. So instead of me taking my lunch money to get lunch at school, I'd wait till after school, walk home from school, go into that gas station, and then start playing Alien versus Predator.
And my mom actually worked at a Sellers Brothers over on Preston, close to 225. And whenever she would close, I would just head over there, and she'd let me in. And, every once in a while, I'd help her like restock the cooler and stuff like that. But most of the time, I'll go over there and play it. They had Street Fighter 2, and they had, what was it? San Francisco Rush. And I played the hell out of those games.
That was good times.
Yeah, because I think the other one was like right off of Edgebrook up to like 45. There used to be that Circle K that was over there. And they had the Ghostbusters arcade machine, which was based off a total different game from Japan. But that was like one of the ones like Dad was like, all right, let's go. We're going to go get drinks and we're going to go play Ghostbusters. I'm there, Dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But
man, these are good times, dude.
Yeah.
Nostalgia days.
Well, and okay, so here's a story. There was one time when, actually, this is when we were coming up the initial plan for the tournament. We were over at Steven's house. It was me and Jose and Jason, and Bobby was there. Alex was there. I think Jonathan was there. I can't remember. There was one other person.
It was Diamond. That was also.
And we're taking turns playing Third Strike on the Dreamcast, and it became this whole thing where the match was Jose versus Steven. So we sat there for 30 minutes while they sat there and went parry, parry, attack, parry, parry, attack, parry. And we're like, okay.
KO.
Yeah, double KO. Yeah, it was like, that was the same. I'm like, totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're not going to let you two play again. We're going to figure out a way to make sure that if one of us will always beat the next person so that we don't have you guys compete against each other. Because it was like so much time wasted. But it was awesome. I wish I could have recorded it.
It was fun just to see that. It actually won that one too. Barely won that one. Yeah. And Steve was like, I'm gonna go beat him. It was bad because he was really. With me and Steven, it was like, okay, I know how to beat him. I know what to do. And then again, he knew how to beat me. But we're like, it was hard to beat each other. And it got to the point that we double KO each other. I mean, it was weird. We double KO each other like twice. And it came to the part that I think I won that match that time that I was there. And Bobby was using Akuma, and he was being cheesy with Akuma, throwing that double fireball in the air. That's all he did. I was like, and he was almost kicking my ass. I mean, he won 2 matches, and he would have won one more match. I was gonna get kicked out, and I was like, no. It was actually Alpha 3. It was Shin Akuma. Oh no, he used Shin Akuma. I used Evil Ryu. And it got to the point that I got Bobby down 2 more times, and I did the MDK version. And here comes Bobby doing his last thing, barely missed me. You see that little fireball, double fireball he shot. You see my Evil Ryu just going teleporting, do the MDK. As soon as his character falls down, he misses me with the fireball, goes through him, grabs him, MDKs him. I'm like, yes! Bobby's like, oh no, I can't believe that's cheating. You got lucky. Like, no, you're the one that's cheating using the damn same move. And we kept going off and on, dude. We argued. It's like, oh no, you and Steven can't play no more. Vince kept saying that. No more because you wasted all our time. It was so much fun, dude, but it was so funny though. Oh,
well, it was funny because like you guys would always usually get, at least Steven would get some of the import stuff. Yeah. So he was the one who first showed us SNK versus Capcom 2. And I was like, man, I can't wait for this to come out on console here. And he was like, yeah, check out my Cammy.
Yeah.
So it's like, SNK versus Capcom 2, you could go in and change the color scheme of the characters and stuff. So like I was making like Trunks and other Dragon Ball Z characters and other things, while Steven was sitting here going and making characters look like they had no clothes on. And it's just like, come on, man. Come on, kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, what? Cammy's naked.
It's distracting. I can't pay attention.
Yeah. It was so funny, though. So hilarious, dude. Those are the days, man. Dude.
That whole time frame between like 16 to 18, dude, I'm just telling you, were some good times.
It was some good times, dude. I was like, oh man, I kind of wish we could go back to it, but I'll take you up for that tournament. I have to bring my brother on that, if you ever do one like that, and let him know, hey, you want to do something? Because me and my brother don't go out as much, but when we do. Like we were supposed to go out this Saturday, the January 22nd. We're supposed to go to this Final Fantasy concert there. We're gonna have the Houston Rice University, but it got canceled. So they canceled it. They're going to put it up back at April 2nd, which is going to be another Saturday. I told them, okay, just let you know by April 2nd, they're going to come back again. New World. It's going to come back to play all the Final Fantasy music and go check it out because I've never been into one. And I always wanted to go. And I've gone to one of those. It was one of those Final Fantasy 11 ones, but I told him, man, we don't go out as much. We want to go do something. He wanted me to go do it to a tournament. I told him, look, man, I can't get into these fighting games like I used to. I suck at them. And I'm be blown to bits by these new players. But I told him, it's in my mind. I've been wanting to, but for a good cause, I'll do it. If it brings back old memories and just brings back the friends.
Regardless of anything, even if like no one watches what we're doing, And that's the thing about like what I've decided about with me doing this podcast and the other stuff. I don't do it for getting views. I mean, it's great. Hey, if people want to subscribe and they want to watch this stuff, thank you. You know, it helps me move this channel forward and make better content. But as far as like, I do this for like my memories of myself or my friends, because, you know, we're at that age now where things are just going to like start breaking and our minds might slip. Well, I can always go and have my wife point me to this and just like relive all this stuff in my head of all the things we talk about. But, you know, it's a good record for our kids, you know. You know, like Edward can go and say, I maybe not know my daddy because of whatever happens, something happens to me, you know?
Yeah.
But he's got this year or so plus of content he can just consume that is a representation of who I was at the time.
Yeah.
And if, you know, technology comes about and where we can have it to where they can like take who I was imprinted on all these videos and make me digitally, and I live on again as a digital entity in the network of everything, I'm down for that. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm be down for that.
Futurama style.
Yeah.
Check out these 40-year-old men playing these fighting games. Look at them play. Look at how they're at each other. Sooner or later, they're gonna be 6 years old with canes and beating each other with the kids. I'll beat you, boy.
You cheated. You threw me. That's not fair. Yeah, all of us are going to sound Southern from Texas for some weird reason.
Yeah, for some weird reason, right? Because all of us are from here.
But, you know, I don't know. I like getting together because we don't have, with me being carjacked like I was back in like 2016 Christmas, it really kind of opened my eyes about like, of things like I need to be wary of like my future and what I want to do with my life, not letting things hold me back to achieve something. And then but it really hit me even more with almost losing my dad. It's like I don't ever want to have a grudge against my father about stupid things. I want to cherish every moment I have with him, and I want to do that for all my friends. I want to cherish every moment I have with you guys until the end, so that way, you know, when I'm at the end of everything, I know I had a good life. So, you know, and that's why I continue to play video games. That's why I continue to talk to the same friends I have. I try to reach out to more people and talk and stuff because I know myself, I become, you know, very reclusive about certain things because, you know, it's sad that this day and age, it's hard to connect with different people now when we had these tools and these things that were the bridge. You know, it doesn't matter what part of life you were. But if you played a video game and that resonated with somebody who plays that same video game, instantly connected. You know, you could be the hardest gangbanger wherever to the most, you know, religious person. If you play the same game and you played it together, you're connected, you know, and you find that common ground to move forward beyond the things that, you know, put you at odds. Regardless of like what your religion is, what your political ideology is, everything else, you know, your friendship with your peers and the people that you can meet and interact with should transcend all that. You know, I met my wife playing Final Fantasy 11, and it was funny how like we were so connected beyond that game. You know, my dad went to their comic book shop, then her grandfather's comic book shop, the first comic book shop in Houston. You know, the fact that like Anna went to a school where my mom, who divorced my dad, married into another family. So my stepfather, his mom and his sister actually taught at that school where my sister was. I mean, my wife was. So it's like, there's all these like connections of things in my life that like for me and her that were like we were always like somehow connected even though we didn't even know each other until we met.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how like a game brought us together.
Yeah.
So and just imagine you could do that with anybody. You get together with any person as long as you're willing to like break down the things that don't matter in the grand scheme of everything. You know, let's have fun. Let's enjoy life. Let's experience and grow and become better people. And I'm trying to be preachy, but we need to. We need to,
Mm.
yeah, I can be negative, but
Mhm.
you know,
Or toxic. How we say it now these days. Oh, you're very toxic.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Sometimes we get it to that point. We all become a little bitter in that
Mhm.
situation, and that's happened. Has been to me various times. It got to the point that I got very bitter, and there's some times that I can't be like this. I shouldn't be like this. Because I should know better. The way people are. If I don't do this, if I don't behave like this, I'm gonna become like this person here, or like this person, and they never moved on, and you get to the point that you want to move on a little bit and just evolve in that and just coexist in some way somehow, and just try to be more understanding with people with different backgrounds in that kind of situation. That's what I love about, especially with fighting games. That's how we get into evolve with somebody who you don't know, but we kind of share some, you know, like-minded things. Back in the days, but now today's days a little different now. But there's some people you can make connect, especially on these kind of games. I've connected with a lot of people from in Final Fantasy 14, 11. I still connect with a lot of them, and like I said, I still connect with some people who plays a little bit of these games like Street Fighter 5, because that's the one I've been playing the most. But lately I've been like, they haven't been playing either. They've been playing other games. So I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to like really put up the game and leave it there and play with somebody, whoever, if I ever come across it. Hey, let's play together. All right, I'll get on it, and play it again. We'll see how it is. And then it comes to that point. Oh, it was my internet connection. It was my internet. We make that excuse.
It was the controller. It was internet. It was lag.
I dropped my controller. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Of course, you weren't lagging on my side. Yeah, that's how it is, man. You know. What else can I say? I'm gonna pass it up to Gabriel. See if he got something to say here.
No, I mean, just going back to fighting games, it brings out the best in people too, not just the worst. And like you said, if you find somebody and either they keep beating you or you keep beating them, they'll give each other tips and advice and to better your game. Or you might have to change how you completely play the game in order to beat that one person. So like I have a certain way I play, say, my main character in Tekken, but I can fight somebody that they just totally obliterate me. So I change the way I play, and then I can beat them. So it's Tekken, any fighting game, you learn and you adapt according to who you're playing. Yeah, I mean that goes the same with life. You adapt to survive. But just tying it all back to fighting games.
Yeah.
Adapt to survive.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that Dad will tell stories about how that there'd be bullies in school that would pick on him and stuff. Then they'd fight, and then they would be like instant friends after that. It's like they beat whatever the thing is of themselves out of the not liking each other, and then they're like, hey, yeah, we're friends now, because they see past the BS.
I don't know if that's like a guy thing, because I know most guys after they fight, they're buddies.
Yeah.
But like girls, they fight, they're enemies for life.
Yeah. It's a different. It is. You're right.
It is different.
It's a guy thing. It's like it's in our, basically it's in our genes, in our culture of men. Like our manhood. We get into these fights and then we become friends. Because why? Because I don't know. I want to say, like when you play Street Fighter, like you're exchanging punches. You're actually reading the guy's emotions. You're reading him. He's reading you, and we're exchanging words, but with fists.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to that, I remember getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it was, be honest with you, that was painful, dude. Getting to these fights, like real fights, like physical fights. And I met some guy. He was actually from South Houston. I can't remember his name now. Chris. I can't think his name is Chris. He's now, I think he was one of the guys who was into Brazilian. I didn't get to fight him, but I wanted to. So I want to fight that guy right there. But honestly, when you do that, you show a lot of respect. There was a guy that was very cocky and into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially he got into a fight with some other dude. It's like, all right, And this dude that he fought beat him, but after a while, he ended up being his friend because I don't know. There's just, I guess, like something in us, inside of us, we get into these fights and we show kind of like some respect. And when we get our, I don't know if it's something knocking our senses, or it could be. It could be something like that. You know, he knocked him into his senses, and he came to. It's like, you know what, I gotta show more respect. The guy gave it his all. You know, he even though I beat him, he actually didn't give up, and I respect that in a person. You see that, and you're like, wow, you know, why would I be his enemy? I want to be his friend. You know, and I don't know. It's just something with us dudes. We are like that. Females, yeah, they're a little different. They're built different.
Yeah.
Oh, it's also with the thing with guys is the fact that, like, you know, it goes back to that whole animalistic instinct. You know, we as animals, you mark your territory. You see who's the strongest. You know, if you can scruff with me, then we're buddies. You know,
Yeah.
versus like, you know, some people would be like, they may step back. They may be, hey, you know, this is more than I want to handle, and they kind of reject the situation.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny because we have the society, as we've become more connected, we've almost pushed ourselves more further apart because we forget how to talk. We forget how to conversate with people about different things. You know, it used to be fun being at a game store or somewhere, talking with somebody and having a general debate about something on two different perspectives of things, but you're still cool with each other because, you know, it was cool to just have the interaction. It's not like elitism where, well, actually it's this and blah, 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 because I'm more knowledgeable than you are. I mean, come on. It's like, what does that help any of the situation that you're trying to create? You're, for lack of a better term, you know, that's my wife loves Big Bang Theory and Sheldon Cooper and stuff. You know, he's this elitist that eventually starts becoming a better person as the show goes on.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I hate that show is because it's a bad representation of nerd culture in general, especially for us growing up. But yeah, I mean, I just find it difficult sometimes to like find that common bond, you know. I could talk about a game that I'm passionate about and, you know, to somebody, and maybe, you know, 10, 20 years younger than I am, and they have no reference to it.
Yeah.
But then there's some that are like, man, I'm really intrigued by this. And they're like, well, I've played this. And, you know, if you've played it, you can see where there's a balance of or connection there, and you can create that bond. But I don't know. For me, sometimes I just find it hard to connect with people now. And that's not saying that people are different. It's
change.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe it's just because we're dealing with the 2 years of a pandemic and we're waiting for this to be over so we can all have a normal life again.
Yeah.
You know, for me, the only thing that really impacted me from the fact of dealing with COVID was maybe have lost a few family members and friends, but I still worked. I went inside my office. I wasn't, you know, because I do essential work with what I do at the company I work for, you know, I never saw a different change, you know, but I still protect myself because I'm asthmatic. My son's asthmatic. I don't want to like bring anything home to him that could jeopardize him, especially me, because I'm the one that's, you know, working. So I don't even know if I'm going to keep this in the episode. I'm just having a conversation at the moment.
No, that's fine. You're fine. You're good.
Yeah.
But I miss being able to have my friends over. And sometimes I feel the isolation of what gets to me, because now is that I'm reaching out to more people and trying to build this relationship online, you know, with my friends. And then, you know, now some of the YouTubers I'm talking with and stuff, as I've done stuff for YouTube, is pretty cool. You know, I'm getting to meet new people, you know, no one famous or anything, but, you know, it's cool just to interact, with other people around the world. And that's what I loved about Final Fantasy 11. I was used to dealing with my friends that were, here in Houston or in San Antonio or, up in, I had one friend that was in Canada. I had one friend in Japan and, others throughout the US. And, us playing 11 just brought this like us together, and if we were so close that I could like call these guys up and say, hey, I need some help. They would be here and help me out.
Yeah.
But I don't, sometimes it's like you feel that whole thing of like, as you've grown older as an adult, you kind of see the limits of what, not necessarily like what your friendship is to other people, but more on the fact of like how things in life change the flow that you're used to for those first, less than 20 years of your life when you're going through at least from 10 to 30,
Yeah.
Because I know that like if I call somebody, I know that I can call on certain people to be here. If I need something instantly, they'll be here.
Yeah.
But it's like there's some friends, it's like they're here for me, they got my back, and it's like, but I don't know if I could call on them to like, hey, I really need you here for something. But if they call me, I'm there. But I don't try to like be like hold that against them for what they do, because they have other things going on in their life.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah. That's what I did. I mean, honestly, I did that part too. Like ever since I came down with Rheumatoid, I know there's no way I'm not going to play Street Fighter again. There's no way I can play any games again. Even though I played Final Fantasy 11, it was a little easier for me because of the controls. I'm not smashing buttons like I'm playing Street Fighter or any kind of fighting games. It got to the point that I isolated myself because I was like, I left, like I said, I shut, I pretty much, I shut down Facebook. I felt everything. I didn't want people to know that I was sick. Honestly, I didn't want that. And I didn't want to vent to none of my friends because I was like, I can't vent for my friend and what I'm going through. He has a life. He has a kid now. All my friends already have kids. I'm like thinking to myself, like, man, I can't vent to these guys. They have their own problems now. They have children. They need to really focus on their child now. And, none of my friends will have time for me anymore because, again, people change. And, like, for example, Steven, he has a child now and he's always busy. And I always try to get him into 14 or try to play him, some other games with him. He's, like he's like, oh yeah, I had friends trying to get me into WoW. I'm not into WoW. I was like, I'm not into WoW. I'm into 14. 14 is all fun. And he said he didn't have the time because of his child. Like, yeah, I kind of figured. I was like, I kind of figured that was going to happen, or he's going to say something like that. So I was like, no, just play casually, dude. It's like there's nothing really like grinding anymore, and for like it isn't like back in the old MMO days. And I've been thinking about trying to tell him to play Street Fighter, but then again, I'm like, I can't play it. There's no way. I would say yes, but it's like I'm thinking about my hands. Like I know they're not the same like they used to. It's like I want to get back into it, but it's the struggle. I want to give him a competition, but like in the old days. But it's just like I kind of shut myself off, and then eventually I kind of open up a little bit and tell him, my situation. And like, look, as much as I want to play, with Street Fighter, I got to tell you something. And he goes, I got Robotoid, dude. Nah, I'm not gonna give you such a competition, but I'll try. I'll play. So I know I'm gonna get my ass kicked. So don't go easy on me. I don't want no easy things. I'll play. Whatever. I'm down. But it sucks. Like but he's always busy. It's like Akbar, the same thing. He's like always busy, and he goes out a lot. And I was like, he likes to go out too much. And I'm like, yeah. And once in a while, he'll like, let's play some Street Fighter. I think it was a couple years ago we actually played. I can't remember if it was Street Fighter 5 we played. And it was pretty fun. He actually came over. He saw my house. It's like, man, I got a desktop computer. He said, yeah, got me this desktop, and maybe one day we can play or something in the future whenever I get my clean. But Akbar is too judgy sometimes. And like, oh, you gotta clean your room. Like, shut up, Akbar. Don't tell me. Don't come and judge me.
We all have our idiosyncrasies.
Yeah. I was like, I got a messy room because I'm still fixing it. And I told him the reason it's messy because I'm like remodeling a lot of stuff, buying piece by piece, whatever I could afford. It takes me time to buy the stuff, everything I'm doing. Now I'm trying to get into art. I'm trying to get back into it. My brother's doing his music thing. And I was like, what I want to start doing is when I boost my Discord, I could put like little, emotes of my art styles. I'm trying to get back into it slowly, but surely. I've been thinking about writing a book, or writing a story, fantasy story, a side story from 11, converting into 14. And, and me and my other half, well, my ex, me and her, we talked about, we used to make stories up of our characters in 11 and then how we converged into 14 and, make up little side stories. And like, it'll be nice to, we never RP or anything like that, but we make up shit like that. Try to get into fighting games. She said, I can't play fighting games. Like, oh, really? I was like, really? You gotta try it one day. It's like, no, but I gotta get Steam. And, she lives in the Dominican Republic. For them is a little different. It's like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. One day, I say, if we ever get back, I told her, if we work things out, get back, try some other video games, try something else. But yeah, man, I mean, like, it's just those days that you miss to, be with your friends and bond with them again. But then again, everyone's life has changed. And I have to understand that too. It's like, man, it's not the same as they used to because, we used to spend hours practicing together, fighting and beating each other down to the time that we had to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Do you ever want to add anything to that one?
I think I'm good. I just kind of ready for the whole COVID thing to be gone, and once it's all done, I mean, try to go out and go in more tournaments and meet more people, new people to play with, and like I said, like y'all were talking about family. I got 2 kids. I'm busy. I work full time. It's hard to make time, but when you do make time, and then you meet new people, and it's worth it because then you like I said, you're meeting people, you're building new relationships, and it betters your life. For me, video games has always bettered my life. I'm sure it has for both of y'all too, and it's just how we grew up, and that's what we know, and that's who we are.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing is that it's funny because like I wasn't the biggest person other than fighting games. I didn't really like playing multiplayer stuff. I wanted to play a story. I wanted to be. I use video games as a way to escape reality because it's like everything's been explored. There's nothing new under the sun. We all deal with things growing up as kids, and I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to be the savior of the world. I wanted to do all these things. Well, it's like I could do that in a video game. So it's like I could put this on my resume. I have my resume filled out, and it's like, oh, I see that you got to level 75 on this game called Final Fantasy 11. What is that? And then you fought a dragon. Dragons don't exist, man. Why you have this on your resume? Anyway, but it's gaming has been such a big part of my life and fighting games as well. And it's how I met a lot of friends because it was one of those times where you could go in to an arcade and your skill as a player, even if it was lack of skill, would be something to spark an interest with somebody else and you could make a friend. Because it's like, hey man, because even if they were ribbed at you, like, hey, you suck, blah, blah, blah. But they're like, but you could try to do this. It was always constructive as far as with all of us who played fighting games. No matter where we were at when we used to go and play games, there was a mutual respect because we were playing it for the game and we're having fun. And sometimes now with gaming, you can just see this whole thing of like, they forget that, for us, it was like we're face to face. So they knew that if, they never knew if like, you smart off to them and said some, some crazy shit that, they wouldn't just come up and beat your ass. So you as a person would be either the person that was giving it or the person that was taking it. So it all depends on, the perspective, but you wouldn't say these things. Now there's this whole thing with online that you either don't get to have a conversation with your opponent, you don't get to have that bonding moment, and then or you're fighting some, for the lack of a better term, playing Call of Duty, and some 8-year-old kid just like kicked your butt because they have a modded controller, or they have the 12 hours to play the game to get better at it that you don't anymore because you work a 40 to 50 hour day job, and you raise a kid, and it's like, well, I only get to play this maybe 2 hours a day. Thanks, kid, for making me feel like I'm shit and I don't want to play this game anymore. But anyway.
Emotional damage.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big difference between what we grew up with and what's going on now. And it's like, I wonder about how Edward's going to be. I wonder how like my friends' kids are going to be dealing with the differences of what we went through and what they're dealing with now.
Yeah.
And hopefully that we can be parents and ground them in a reality that they understand of the situation and how to handle it, give them the tools mentally to handle what may come their way.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm very thankful for every friend that I've ever made. And, I know on my end, I get lazy sometimes, I could make that call. I could pick up that phone, call that friend I haven't talked to in a long time, see how they're doing, and instead of me worrying about why aren't they calling me? Why aren't they inviting me to hang out? And, the one thing that's funny for me growing up, it was for technically all of you guys, it was my house was the house. It was the house to people to come over to hang out, or whether it was to hang out over there or, we'd play whatever, or it was the meeting spot. Then we'd go do something else. And I want to have that same relationship with my son, with his friends. So that way he knows that, and his friends know that there's a safe space. I will help protect them and make sure they're okay as long as they're in my care. And, but they will have fun. They will enjoy their time there. They will not be in an awkward situation. And I wonder how fighting games are going to be in the future. VR may take off, and or the whole thing from Real Steel, where it's like you kind of wearing a thing and you're shadow boxing opponent, and with real robots and stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this next step in my journey, even though I'm scared every day for it. And I look forward to the people I get to meet along the way.
I just want to say that, yeah, man, it's just like what you were saying earlier, is that you miss those days. Also, you get the opportunity to know your son's friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing is very important, is who is your son hanging with? Are there good influence kids, because every family is a little different now. Every family believes in certain things, and you got to understand these other kids that you're meeting as well. And that's a good opportunity, especially on getting him if he gets into these fighting games. And like I said, the involvement with these fighting games.
No, I mean, it's pretty much the same, just kind of want to start playing again in person with people and just trying to get better at the game. I know the older we get, the better we were, so
yes, yeah, exactly. And I want to go to Evo one year, so
yeah.
But all right, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Fighting Game Memories 2. Tell us what some of your memories were growing up, especially even stuff that's going on now. What have you experienced with modern day fighting games? Have you been to a tournament? But until then, have a good one, guys. Later.